Hey, what is up everyone? In this video I'm talking about my top 5 major updates I'd love to see added to Sea of Thieves in the future. So I already talked about in last week's video 5 minor quality of life updates that I'd love to see. So in this one we're going to focus on the big tentpole features that you'd see take over a whole season, say how we had the sea forts in season 6, or how this season we have captaincy with all of that has wrapped together. So let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, so starting off at number 5 for our major updates, we have the Grand Maritime Union fleet. And here's my idea for this. So if you're familiar with the comics, we actually read about it in this comic if you haven't seen it. Basically, the Grand Maritime Union is this big merchant force. They're similar to the Merchant Alliance. It's kind of, the Merchant Alliance is kind of like a break-off of the Grand Maritime Union, but they're not together. They're actually kind of enemies, I think. That doesn't really matter for this idea. What I have an idea for this is, basically the Grand Maritime Union comes in, and at random times, you can find them just sailing the seas in a great fleet, and those kind of just be roaming around the Sea of Thieves, just minding their own business, but you can choose to engage with them, or if you get too close to them, maybe they'll start attacking you. But what you could do is you'd have all these ships, and then once you start attacking them, they'll all come after you. Similar to the skeleton fleet, but instead of it being a centralized location, these could be just sailing around, and I feel like that'd be a little bit more realistic. And I think it'd be really cool. And you could have a ton of merchant loot on it and stuff, along with some other treasures, of course. But I think that'd be really fun to have. Alright, so next at number 4, we have Ventures. So this is kind of my name for it. I think you could obviously come up with a lot better name for it. But the idea would be to use the Sea of the Dam portals that we have, the big rock portals that we use for the Tall Tale. Use those to go through, and basically it's almost like a PvE experience there. You would be fighting different types of enemies going through, and the longer you survive, the more gold or treasure you would earn. And I think that would be really cool. You could have it so that the longer you play, the harder it gets, and then the more loot you earn. I think that would just be a fun idea to challenge yourself and have fun with friends and stuff. Not very exciting for people that go to Sea of Thieves for the PvP experience, but this would be something fun for people that are like, hey, I just want to fight something. I don't want to do a voyage. I just want to go in, start getting to work fighting. And I think for this idea, they probably need to expand the enemy types for the game, or they'll just have to make it so that when you go in, anything can attack you. Maybe you could have one where you go in, you have to keep your ship alive while fighting krakens or something, or you have where you're underwater and you're fighting sharks and sirens. But the main idea would probably be you're on an island fighting skeletons and ocean crawlers and that kind of stuff. So next at number 3, we have bounties. So this is something that none of you are probably unfamiliar with. It's an idea that pretty much everyone in Sea of Thieves has wanted. So basically the way I would implement this is you go and you become a Reaper emissary, and you go to the Servant of Flame and you get a bounty. This would go to whoever has the most amount of loot in the game currently. Now, the way you prevent the other person from getting rid of their loot immediately when the bounty starts is by giving them an incentive to not do it. I'll get to that in a second. So basically you start this bounty, and you'd say have 30 minutes to get your person and sink their stuff and whatever, and you get a bonus if you complete it in the bounty time. It'd also give you a little location indicator to show you roughly where on the map they are, and the closer to your time running out, the more it pinpoints them on the map. Now, if we jump over to the side of the person being hunted, or the crew that's being hunted, first I would say you'd have the Pirate Lord appear on the ship, and he'd say that the Servant of Flame has sent someone to come attack you. Be warned that a rival crew is on their way to attack you. Make sure to take precautions or whatever. Some kind of, message that's in theme with the game. If they're not on their ship, they might get a notification that pops up that says the Pirate Lord is on your ship waiting for you with an urgent message. Something like that I think would be cool. And it would keep it within the theme of the game, because right now the storyline has been a giant battle between the Reapers and Flameheart against the Pirate Lord and like the pirates of the Outposts and Thena's Fortune, that kind of stuff. So I think it would be really in theme with the storyline going on so far. Now, I mentioned earlier about you need to incentivize the players to not just go sell their loot immediately. The way I would do that is, if you are being hunted, at the end of that 30 minutes, if you get away and you don't get sunk, you would get a gold amount that matches how much loot you have on your ship. So say you have a bunch of treasure chests on your ship that amount to, say, 15,000 gold. You would get 15,000 gold added to your account when the bounty ends. And then you could have on top of that all the chests on your ship to still sell. I think this would be really good both for the people that are getting hunted, because they're incentivized to not go sell their stuff because they could make double the amount they're going to get. And on the Reaper side, it makes it so that you have a high priority target to go grab because it would be the person on the server with the most amount of loot. So say if you're someone that wants that high engaging battle, it's kind of a win-win. If you don't want to be tracked for the bounty, don't have a ton of loot on your ship, and you'll probably be okay. That's my idea for it. If you guys have other ideas of how they can implement a bounty system, I would love to hear in the comments below. But let's move on to number 2 with Captain's Islands. So I've been thinking about this for a while. Originally I just wanted private islands, but now with the whole Captaincy update, I think it'd be cool to expand Captaincy to have their own islands. And this would basically be, in my mind, where you would spawn in the game. So your ship would spawn at your own little private island, and on that little island you have a few barrels. I think to make it balanced, have it a little bit less supplies than you'd have at a normal outpost, but still enough to get you started. And in there you'd be able to decorate your house with trinkets, the same ones you have on your ship. You could do whatever you want there, decorate it, things like that, and it'd just be a nice chill place to hang out with your friends. And the difficult part about this is you have to make it so that other players can't come, but you want to make it so that you can get into the server easily. And I feel like the only way you could do it really is have it similar to the way it's like with the Maiden Voyage, and in that you basically sail on this pathway and then it'll merge you into a server, and then if you want to come back to it, maybe you have to go through the Portal of the Dam or something else. That'd be really for Rare to figure out. Honestly, I'm not too sure how they should do that. But you might be asking yourself, what would we do at these Captain's Islands? And that leads into number 1 with minigames. Now this wouldn't just be on the islands. This would be like on your ship and also outposts and the taverns and stuff. But basically, minigames I think would be the best thing for Sea of Thieves to add. This is the thing I've wanted for so long. So minigames would basically be like playing games like blackjack, checkers, etc. And the way I'd want to do this is that you'd be able to bet your own gold on it. So you could either bet your own crewmates, so you could have it so that you could bet a certain amount of money. I think Rare would need to cap it, maybe at say 1,000 gold or something, just so that people aren't betting too much of it and then getting upset that they lost a ton of stuff. But just enough to make it fun and worth playing. It'd also be a nice use of gold rather than just spend it on, say, cosmetics or whatever. I think minigames would be really fun, not only to play with your crew on your ship and stuff or at the private islands if they ever do that, but also like if you go to a tavern, you meet some other pirates and you say, hey, you want to head to the tavern, you know, grab some grog and play some checkers or blackjack or something. I think that'd be really cool. If you don't want it at the tavern because you think it might take up too much space or something, whatever the reason is, you could make a party island. That's something that I talked about like a few years ago when they had the construction at Lagoon of Whispers. I think it would be cool to have at Lagoon of Whispers like a whole party island basically. Originally I wanted it to be run by Duke, but now Duke's kind of a jerk, so probably get someone else to do it. But you could have like a whole party island with different games that you could play. Alright, so those are all the updates I'd love to see added to Sea of Thieves in the future. Let me know in the comments below what you'd like to see added to the game one day. Like I said before, I've made a whole nother video talking about my 5 minor updates I'd love to see added to the game, so definitely check that video out next if you haven't already. But until then, make sure you like and subscribe, and thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all later. Bye y'all.